This is the controversial account of William Howard Russell, world famous for his report on the charge of the Light Brigade. Russell is regarded as the first war correspondent in history during the disastrous First Battle of the American Civil War on July 21, 1861. He was there. This is his story.
Washington, July 19, 1861. The Army of the North is fairly moving at last, and all the contending voices of lawyers and disputants will speedily be silenced by the noise of the cannon. Let no one suppose that the war will be decided in 1 or 2 battles, or conclude from any present successes of the Federalists that they will not meet with stern opposition as they advance. The Senate and Congress are sitting in the Capitol, within the very hearing of the guns and the sight of the smoke of the conflict which is now raging in Virginia. Senators and congressmen are engaged in disputations and speeches, while soldiers are working out the problem in their own way, and it is within the range of possibility that a disastrous battle may place the capital in the hands of the Confederates. And the news which has just come in, that the latter have passed Bull Run, a small river which flows into the Potomac, below Alexandria. The retreat on their lines at Centreville seems to have ended in a cowardly rout, a miserable, causeless panic. Such scandalous behavior on the part of soldiers I should have considered impossible, as with some experience of camps and armies, I have never, even in alarms among camp followers, seen the like of it. I went off to the headquarters, and there General Scott's aide informed me that General McDowell's official report gave 6 killed and 37 wounded. The livery keepers stuck to the 1,500 or 2,000. I had to enter into an agreement with the owner to pay him for horses and buggy if they were captured or injured by the enemy, and though I smiled at his precautions, they proved not quite unreasonable. An English gentleman who accompanied me was strongly dissuaded from going by a colonel of cavalry on the staff because he said, "The troops are green and no one can tell what may happen." On the hill there were carriages and vehicles drawn up as if they were attending a small country race. They were afterwards engaged in a race of another kind. In one was a lady with an opera glass. In and around and on others were legislators and politicians. The scene was so peaceful, a man might well doubt the evidence of one's sense that a great contest was being played out below in bloodshed, or imagine, as Mr. Seward sometimes does, that it was a delusion when he wakes up in the morning and finds there is civil war upon him. Suddenly up rode an officer with a crowd of soldiers after him from the village. "We've whipped them on all points," he shouted. "We've taken their batteries and they're all retreating." Such an uproar as followed. The spectators and men cheered again and again amid cries of "Bravo! Bully for us! Didn't I tell you so?" Guttural hawks from the Deutschland and loud hurrahs from the Irish. Suddenly, there arose a tumult in front of me at a small bridge across the road, and then I perceived the drivers of a set of wagons, with the horses turned towards me, who were endeavoring to force their way across the stream of vehicles setting in the other direction. By the side of the new set of wagons, there were a number of commissariat men and soldiers, whom at first sight I took to be the baggage guard. They looked excited and alarmed, and were running by the side of the horses. In front, the dust quite obscured the view. At the bridge, the currents met in wild disorder. "Turn back! Retreat!" shouted the men from the front. "We're whipped! We're whipped!" They cursed and tugged at the horses' heads and struggled with frenzy to get past. Running by me on foot was a man with the shoulder straps of an officer. "Pray, what's the matter, sir?" "It means we're pretty badly whipped, and that's a fact," he blurted out in puffs and continued his career. I observed that he carried no sword.
Well, I come from old Manassas with a pocket full of fun. I kill 40 Yankees with a single barrel gun, but it don't make it if a stiffer instant, neither you nor I. Big Yankee, wee Yankee, all run or die. Oh, I saw all the Yankees at Bull Run. They fought like the devil when the battle first begun, but it don't make an if a stiffer runs to neither you nor I. They took her to their heels, boys, you ought to see them fly.
Soon I met soldiers who were coming through the corn, mostly without arms, and presently I saw firelocks, cooking tins, knapsacks, and greatcoats on the ground, and observed that the confusion and speed of the baggage carts became greater, and that many of them were crowded with men who were followed by others who clung to them. The ambulances were crowded with soldiers, but it did not look as if there were many wounded. Negro servants on led horses dashed frantically past. Men in uniform, who were in a disgrace to the profession of arms to call soldiers, swarmed by on mules, chargers, and even drought horses, which had been cut out of carts or wagons, and went on with harnesses clinging to their heels, as frightened as their riders. Men literally screamed with rage and fright when their way was blocked up. I was just about to ask one of the men for a light when a sputtering fire on my right attracted my attention, and out of the forest, or along the road, rushed a number of men. The gunners seized the trail of the nearest piece to wheel it round upon them. Others made for the tumbrils and horses as if to fly, when a shout was raised. "Don't fire! They're our own men!" And in a few minutes on, came pell-mell a whole regiment in disorder. I rode across one and stopped him. "We're pursued by cavalry," he gasped. "They've cut us all to pieces." As he spoke, a shell burst over the column. I put my horse into a trot, keeping it in the fields alongside the roads as much as I could to avoid the fugitives, till I came once more on the rear of the baggage and store carts, and the pressure of the crowd, who, conscious of the aid which the vehicles would afford them against a cavalry charge, and fearful nevertheless of their proximity, clamored and shouted like madmen as they ran. The road was now literally covered with baggage. It seemed to me as if the men inside were throwing the things out purposely. "Stop!" cried I to the driver of one of the carts. "Everything is falling out!" "Damn you!" shouted a fellow inside. "If you stop him, I'll blow your brains out!" My attempts to save Uncle Sam's property were then and there discontinued.
Fire!
Suddenly the guns on the hill opened, and at the same time came the thuds of artillery from the wood on the right rear. The stampede then became general. What occurred at the hill I cannot say, but all the road from Centreville for miles presented such a sight as only can be witnessed in the track of the runaways of an utterly demoralized army. Drivers flogged, lashed, spurred, and beat their horses, or leaped down and abandoned their teams and ran by the side of the road. Mounted men, servants, and men in uniform, vehicles of all sorts, commissariat wagons, thronged the narrow ways. Again the cry of "Cavalry!" arose. "What are you afraid of?" said I to a man who was running beside me. "I'm not afraid of you," replied the ruffian, leveling his piece at me and pulling the trigger. It was not loaded, or the cap was not on, or the gun did not go off. and so the flight went on. At one time, a whole mass of infantry with fixed bayonets ran down the bank of the road, and some falling as they ran must have killed and wounded those among whom they fell.
Hold here! Hold here!
There's much talk now of massed batteries, of course, of outflanking and cavalry and such matters. The truth seems to be that the men were overworked, kept out for 12 or 14 hours in the sun, exposed to a long-range fire, badly officered, and of deficient regimental organization. Then came a most difficult operation, to withdraw this army, so constituted out of action, in face of an energetic enemy who had repulsed it. The retirement of the baggage, which was without adequate guards, and was in the hands of ignorant drivers, was misunderstood and caused alarm, and that alarm became a panic, which became frantic on the appearance of the enemy and on the opening of their guns on the runaways.
Old Lincoln and his congressman with Seward by his side put old Scott in a wagon just for to take a ride. MacDowell was the driver, to cross Bull Run he tried, but there he left the wagon for Beauregard to ride. Manassas was the battleground, the field was fair and wide. The Yankees thought they'd whip us out and on to Richmond ride, but when they met our Dixie boys, their danger they espied. They wheeled about for Washington and didn't wait to ride. So wait for the wagon, the disillusioned wagon. The South is the wagon and we'll all take a ride.
Russell's account would be published in nearly every major American newspaper. Disorganization, untrained soldiers, and inexperienced commanders all contributed to the disaster that day. Above all, socialite and Confederate spy, Wild Rose O'Neal Greenhow, is credited with handing the South its victory. Jefferson Davis, the President of the Confederacy, stated to Greenhow, "But for you, there would have been no Battle of Bull Run."
On Sunday, the Great Battle of Manassas was fought, memorable in history as that of Culloden or Waterloo, which ended in the total defeat and rout of the entire Grand Army. In the world's history, such a sight was never witnessed. Statesmen, senators, congressmen, generals, and officers of every grade, soldiers, teamsters, all rushing in frantic flight as if pursued by countless demons. For miles, the country was thick with ambulances, accoutrements of war, and sea. The actual scene beggars all description, so I must, in despair, relinquish the effort to portray it. Rose O'Neal Greenhow.
But though the North may reel under the shock, I cannot think it will make her desist from the struggle unless it be speedily followed by blows more deadly even than the repulse from Manassas.
come from old Manassas with a pocket full of fun. I killed 40 Yankees with a single barrel gun, but it don't make any difference to neither you nor I. Big Yankee, wee Yankee, all run or die. Oh, I saw all the Yankees at Bull Run. They fought like the devil when the battle first begun, but it don't make any difference to neither you nor I. They took it to their heels, boys, you ought to see them fly. Oh, well, I came into this country in the year of 51, and never did I think that I'd be shouldering a gun. But as true and straight's the cannonade brights our southern shell, beside the stars and bars the harbour bearing waves as well.